Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our monthly Stayntouch 2.0 live product overview, of course, presented by Stayntouch. I am your moderator, Justin DeRisi, the senior content marketer here at Stayntouch, and I am joined, as always, by Emily Smith, our technical sales engineer. So before I begin, I'd like to just cover a few housekeeping slides. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded, and we will send a link to the on-demand recording to all registrants after the presentation. All attendee lines are on mute. We will be having a Q&A section at the end of the presentation. However, I will be noting questions throughout the presentation. So if you do have a question, or if you have something with your audio or anything like that, feel free to ask a question in the middle of your control panel, and I should be able to see that and respond. For additional learning opportunities after the webinar, feel free to visit our resources tab at www.stayntouch.com. There's a lot of information and presentations and whatnot there. So on to the agenda for the presentation. First, we're going to do a company overview, and I will be giving that. And then I will hand the reins over to Emily, and she will go over our flagship PMS. And then we're going to go into the broader Stayntouch 2.0 product suite. And then finally, we will get to that Q&A section that I mentioned before. Okay, our company overview. Amplify with Stayntouch. Stayntouch's mission is to amplify hospitality from the perspective of hoteliers, their staff, operators, and of course, guests. We provide the technology that enables hotels to deliver whatever ideal guest experience they can dream up. With Stayntouch, you can count on a single trusted vendor for your core technology needs. This will cover our flexible and scalable cloud PMS, our end-to-end payment system, our customizable booking engine, and of course our channel manager, and then the guest-facing kiosk. We are a global company. We have hundreds of hotels across the United States and Europe, everything from independent boutique hotels up to 1,000-room hotel brands. And we are helping to usher in a guest-centric hospitality experience for everyone involved in hospitality. So with that, let's move on to the product overview. And Emily, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. So I'll touch on some of the aspects that we have in our core PMS and a couple additional solutions that we have additionally to add on top of the PMS, and then we'll go right into the demo portion of this. So within our core PMS, we have a lot of different modules and tools built within them that will really help elevate the on-property operation and each department's day-to-day functionality, from reservation management to the ease that we have to build reservations, create reservations, allowing users to, by just a few clicks, create a reservation, and it really is an intuitive process. It walks the user through that module in creating reservations because we make our system so user-friendly. So you'll see some of that through your demo today. Our front desk management module has different tools such as a room diary that we have very similar to what you would see as a tape chart in other systems, that just really gives you a bird's eye view of all your reservations in-house, departing, arriving on today and future dates, and allows you to perform different functionalities all within that tool without leaving it, like extending reservations, blocking guests, moving guests, changing room statuses, etc. We have a revenue management module that we'll also touch on today briefly that has a tool, one tool within it that is very useful in hotels, which would really help you manage your pricing, change restrictions at different levels and hierarchies depending on the needs and your selling strategy, which is again very user friendly, and you'll see that today. Our group and allotment handling helps hotels manage their group blocks, build blocks, upload rooming lists, and many other items within the group functionality. Profile management. We manage guest profiles, travel agent profiles, company profiles at different levels, and you have the ability to easily merge guest profiles if that's something that's needed. You have a plethora of data that you can collect from a guest aspect, which you'll actually see today through our mobile check-in too. That helps build that profile and really utilize it to its fullest functionality. And from a company and travel agent aspect, you also have the ability to create global contracts within those profiles. And again, you'll see that through our multi-property functionality today. Our mobile housekeeping allows teams to go digital when it comes to housekeeping instead of working off static pieces of paper. Updating rooms in the system from a mobile device, having your room attendants have their task board for the day all digital with updated information on room statuses and checkouts and maybe checkout times or arrival times, which really allows your housekeeping team to provide in real time data to the front desk on, as rooms get cleaned, as rooms get checked in. So great way to utilize that. Allowances and packages, we'll also touch on this today with our ability to build different types of packages that may have consumption required within that, like a breakfast package or a dinner package. And you'll see kind of how we can utilize that functionality today and enhance that experience, capture that additional revenue from a guest perspective. And then our reporting and analytics is really flexible. We have a ton of reports that you can run on demand, but additionally, we have those same reports that you can schedule as a report or as an export. They can go to an email or multiple emails, a Google Drive, a Dropbox, and even the SFTP sending to another system. Additionally, within all the reporting that we also have custom exports that really allows hotels to get very granular and customized into the specific reporting needs that they may have in a lot of different areas, and pull apart data, filter it, receive it multiple times through the day or through the week, depending on how much you need that report. And from a financials, accounts receivable standpoint, our system has a accounts receivable that allows hotels to really dig into each bill that's being sent to a company or travel agent's AR account, apply that to a payment that they've received, check that what's being sent to that account is accurately being reflected in what's supposed to be sent, allowing you to pull apart maybe charges that shouldn't have been sent to an account, etc. A lot you can do with that as well. And finally, we'll touch on our staff and guest mobility. The system as a whole is completely cloud-based. It's accessible from a URL standpoint, so you'll see that, which means you can access our system from your phone, from a tablet, or any PC web browser, making it incredibly flexible, available anywhere, and in your pocket, as an example. And then finally, we'll jump into our chain management today. We'll talk a little bit about our multi-property functionality, and from a kiosk standpoint, our system was really built as this overlay and then kind of built then into the PMS. So we have a really great kiosk functionality that's just an extension of our PMS. Today you'll see our mobile check-in. That's going to be very similar experience to a kiosk. However, the kiosk is obviously something that a guest would come into contact with on property, whereas the mobile check-in they'll really have anywhere, but a lot of the similar functionality that you'll see from both. So from that, we'll jump right into the system.
Just give me one moment.
Okay. So at a high level, when a user gets logged in, they're going to come to a dashboard view. And as you can see, as I mentioned just a minute ago, we are accessible via URL. That's how you'll get to our system, whether it's on your phone, a tablet, or a PC. And dependent on what your user role is what the dashboard view you'll come to. We have three options: manager, front desk, and housekeeping, where manager, front desk will look very similar to the view that we're looking at. And housekeeping will really be geared towards that user role and the data that they need on a day-to-day basis. From a dashboard perspective, it gives the user in a very clear, easy understanding screen what's going on that day in the hotel, their arrivals, departures, stayovers. If you're utilizing our late checkout or our mobile check-in, you have these additional tiles that you would see: VIP information, your occupancy, all of your room statuses. And to go one step further, it's all clickable. So I can click into my arrivals, I can click into my VIPs and see all that data at the click of a button. So every tile is clickable here. And then one more step further, like I mentioned, our system's incredibly user-friendly. So with that being said, we like to make the screens very clean, easy to read and understand the information that you're looking at as a user, especially if you're in a guest-facing role where you may be multitasking. So we're highlighting very specific detail with these bright colors so that while you are flowing through the system, completing tasks, that information is very easy to understand what you're looking at because it's got this color coordinating aspect to it. So arrivals, vacant ready rooms, you'll see that highlighted in green. Utilizing our mobile check-in, you'll see that as guests are initiating that experience, highlighted in orange. Blue will identify your stayover and occupied rooms, and red really will symbolize everything checkout, departure related information. Also on your manager dashboard, you'll have a couple other items of information like ADR. We have upselling options that allow hotels to customize upselling opportunities from an add-on perspective, from a room upgrade perspective, ancillary fees like late checkout, early check-in, which you'll see as we go through additional items in this demo, and then a rate of the day, just highlighting a specific rate. It's obviously not your only rate, but it gives a user an idea around where you're selling that day. And this tab that I just pulled over, this is our availability tab. It gives you a 14-day defaulted view of your hotel's availability, allowing you to toggle between 7 and 30 days, also looking into future months or years, depending on your booking window. But this breaks down some great information, and it's available to pull over on top of any screen that you're in. So if you are making a reservation, or maybe you're in the rate management tool, trying to adjust your strategy, you can pull this tab over and it's not going to conflict with what you're already working on. But it gives you a base understanding of, again, of that same rate that you're highlighting on the dashboard, but broken down to your different room types. It also provides you an understanding if there's any rooms out of order, how that reflects your availability, a breakdown of your available rooms. And from this screen, I could start making a reservation by clicking into any of these boxes as well. A breakdown of your rooms sold, and then your non-group rooms versus group rooms. And you can get additional information by opening it up and seeing kind of what's being held as definite versus what you have is picked up. So from here, I'll jump into our multi-property functionality. I wanted to give you an idea of what the dashboard looks like because you'll kind of see that in different instances from the multi-property view. This is a separate login, so it's dependent on access to the chain dashboard, having that multi-property functionality, and you can provide that out at different levels, at different user role levels. If I was a front desk agent, but I had a sister property next door, perhaps I have access to a chain dashboard from a front desk staff user role. And you can provide the different hotel access to different hotels. If you give someone multi-property, they don't necessarily need to have every hotel in the multi-property view. But from our chain dashboard, when the user gets logged in, the first screen will show will show up to 9 hotels, and anything additional you can click through pages to see more hotels if you have more than 9 within your multi-property. If that's the case, you can always build what we call property groups, which allows you to group together different hotels within your company, maybe based on size or based on location, based on type of hotel. It's completely customizable and up to you how you want to group different hotels together, but allows you this opportunity to see a smaller subset of hotels, or maybe based on locale. So if you want to look at, one specific region to see how their hotel is doing for the day or the next couple days, will really help you group those together. From the chain dashboard as well, you will see the hotel's occupancy currently, their occupancy yesterday, their occupancy tomorrow, and then number of rooms they have in the hotel, and then again that same rate that they're highlighting. And then we'll be able to go and see one more granular view lower when I click into one of these properties. So all of these properties are clickable, similar to the dashboard we saw within one property. You can add a company logo here and also decide on, again, kind of color coordinating your individual properties too for that easy identification. So we'll click into one of our properties in our chain dashboard. And now I'm actually in that property, similar to what we saw earlier. I'm in the Bayview Tampa environment. I can perform, maybe I make a reservation or I check in a guest. I'm now in this property, so anything I do will affect the Bayview Tampa. But there are some areas where you'll see multi-property outside of what you would see what you wouldn't see if it was not part of a chain. So I showed you the availability screen, but if I go into all hotels in this chain, this gives me also some availability at the individual hotels within the chain. And I can either look at all of them or again, utilize that property grouping that you've created. So from all hotels, you'll get, again, that rate that they're highlighting, their occupancy, but now I also can see their available rooms. So if I do have that kind of sister property example I talked about earlier, if I was, sold out of this 5-bedroom suite, but the hotel next door within my chain has one of those options, I can, provide that information to a customer, or maybe I'm at, a central reservations type of team or type of office. Additionally, from a multi-property functionality, we share profiles. So you can share guest profiles, company profiles, and travel agent profiles. And when I come into a guest profile and I go into our statistics, you'll see some of that information. So here I'm in the actual Bayview Tampa, but again, I can just select a property, click select property and show all the properties, or select a specific property, or maybe again, a property group. We'll just look at all properties, and opening up to all properties allows me to see every stay that this guest has had within the different hotels in the company. So I can see the number of stays, I can see the number of nights that's equivalent to, no shows, ADR, room revenue, total revenue, etc. So it's giving you kind of an overall high level idea of the production from that guest. But to take that one step further, you also have that same statistical view when you're going into a global travel agent profile or company profile, where you can see that overall production at each hotel for specific travel agents that you may share contracts with, like an Expedia. If you have a global contract with all your hotels in your multi-property for a specific Expedia rate, then you can see that same level of production that each hotel would have for that. And then coming into notes really quickly, you can add notes to guest profiles. And when you're sharing them from a multi-property functionality, you can share notes across each hotel. And specifically, you can also see where those notes came from. So Ross and Emily, they wrote these notes within Bayview, Tampa. I don't see a hotel name here, but then another Emily from the Turtle Beach Hotel also put a note in there. And you can see where that's coming from. So if it needs to be property specific, or maybe it's overall information that needs to be shared amongst each guest, each hotel. And then finally, I'll touch on coming into the menu again. I can toggle between hotels just from the menu bar. I don't need to actually go back to the chain dashboard. However, I can, if I would like, I could always click on the menu and go back to the chain dashboard. One last thing I want to just mention, because everything is a URL and it's super easy, I can open up multiple environments at once. So I could actually have, you know, my Bayview Tampa and my Charger City Chalet just within each tab, and I could also toggle between each property this way as well, other than coming in here or coming back to the chain dashboard. Perfect. So now we'll finish the demo in this actual environment outside of the multi-property, which is where all my information is. I'll quickly run through our mobile check-in. I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a very similar experience for the guest as our kiosk software, or kiosk check-in or check-out. However, the biggest difference, I'm going to be doing this from a phone, and I can be doing this from wherever. I could actually be even starting a mobile check-in from the night before. Whereas the kiosk will really be somewhere, you know, stationed somewhere on your property. It's an actual place that I would go to as a guest to start my own check-in as another contactless experience, but the flow will be very similar. And for this, I'm actually going to show you how to do show you the mobile check-in experience directly from a phone instead of doing it from my computer. So let me pull that up. So from the mobile check-in, it's going to be an emailed experience to the guest. It doesn't require the guest to download an app in order to go through this process. And the email itself is a customizable look and feel, from your color scheme to your verbiage, to what you want it to say, what your email address it's coming from, what time it's being sent out, etc. So we're going to go ahead and start the check-in. It does require a couple authenticating points, some validation from the guest, even though it's a directed email to that guest with their specific reservation details. It just wants a couple pieces of information. Once I put in that validating point, it does provide me my reservation details, such as arrival and departure date, the room type, my rate, and then this charges and enhancements. So this pulls back into some of that upselling as well as the allowances. So this guest purchased an additional add-on to their reservation during their booking process, such as chocolate dip strawberries. But then they also booked a breakfast rate that's included in their rate, where you see the different prices. Then you have your balance, any deposits paid, balances due at this point. In order to continue, I need to accept terms and conditions. And so think of this as your way of providing a digital registration card to the guest. You determine what this verbiage is, and the guest just needs to agree to continue. And through this process, I'll mention the design aspect. The design element is customizable from your color schemes to some of the options as well in terms of what you want the flow to look like for the guest. So one of those items is this birth date. We've turned on a minimum check-in age for this property, and that minimum check-in age is 21. So I'm just going to put in a date that will allow me to check in as a 21-year-old. That's a date you can change, or perhaps, you know, turn this function off as well if you want that not necessary for your property. Through this process, you can also ask guests for additional information if you're really trying to build profile data and have, you know, the most up-to-date information. So one of those options to ask the guests for would be address details, and you can also, you know, have a birthday mandatory if you want to capture birthday information, if you're using that for like a marketing standpoint, as an example. So it's pulling the details from my reservation, from my profile. If I update anything in here, it would update on my reservation. We'll go ahead and continue. And then through upselling functionality, the first option that's going to come to the guest or be offered to me are room upgrades. And you can see there's different levels of room upgrades, and it's all dependent on the room type that the guest has booked. And then it's also dependent on how you configure upgrades and those different levels and options. So all of this is customizable, from your pictures to your to the description, the pricing, and what's even showing to the guest. And all of these options are also going to only show me based on inventory. So if I don't have, you know, a specific premium queen available to upgrade to, then it's not going to offer that option to the guest. So I'll actually select an upgrade, and it's going to update my reservation details that we saw earlier. So now you see we have the Bayview Terrace Suite, and it also updates that room upgrade price. So we'll continue. And now I need to let the hotel know what time I'm arriving. So I'm going to go ahead and say 12:15, and we'll go ahead and continue. And based on that time frame and how you as a hotel build early check-ins, if you're utilizing that, there's a price attached to that. So to check in at 12:15, it's letting me know, hey, check-in time's at 4, so that's going to be a $60 charge. So I can either change my arrival time or purchase early check-in. And our early check-in has 3 different levels that you can configure at different price points with different time frames with different price points. Again, completely up to how you configure and utilize it. There are some ways to restrict it and regulate an early check-in in terms of how many you do, maybe restricting specific rates or specific room types, etc. So we'll purchase this early check-in, continue. We can also add loyalty programs. If you don't have one, this is obviously a step that we can that won't be part of the flow. And then lastly, we have our add-on options that are going to be, again, up to you how you build different items to upsell to the guests through the mobile check-in or even through the PMS. All of these are completely customizable, as I keep mentioning, from the colors of the boxes to what you're selling, how you're selling it, the posting rhythm, the pricing is all up to you. So, and this goes a little bit in hand with our allowances as well, because some of these items, like a breakfast, can be a consumable option, or even parking. All of these can have inventory attached to them. So for bicycle rental, you know, perhaps you only have 5 bikes to rent a day. You can set that inventory level, and as they sell out, it will not keep pushing that out to the guest. And we'll actually click on late checkout. Similar to our early check-in, there's 3 different options at different time frames with price points. Again, how you build them, you can set levels of inventory to them. If you only want to sell 1 late 3 p.m. checkout a day, you can make that determination, and it won't continue to sell it if it's already been purchased. So we'll add that and we'll proceed. And this just allows hotels to capture additional information if they're overseas where it might be important. So coming back to our property, now as the user, I have that mobile check-in here. It shows me at 12:15 that Lauren's gone through that process. A couple places where you'll get information from that mobile check-in will be in our notes. It shows that what the guest has kind of chosen or added on, like their room upgrade, purchasing early check-in. But then further, additional information will be in our activity log that shows all that guest self check-in detail. This is where any change to a reservation lives. So you can see the guest agreed to terms and conditions. They've purchased an early check-in. They've purchased a room upgrade. They extended their checkout time to 3 p.m. So you'll have all that data here. At this point, the system will complete the full check-in, completely automated. It'll start looking for a room 30 minutes prior to this given arrival time and place that guest into a clean room as it finds one. And once that happens and the guest gets checked in, they'll receive an email with their room number and however they may be getting their key. If it's, you know, stopping by the desk, if it's a link to a mobile key, if it's a PIN code, they'll get all that detail here. So that's our mobile check-in. It's actually native into our core PMS functionality. So you have that built in. If you utilize it, you can certainly configure that and then you'll have these additional tiles. If that's not something that you'll utilize, you know, you won't necessarily have this tile, but it is there for you in a great option. Next, we'll jump into some reservation information and allow me to talk a little bit about our allowances. So this guest is actually on a summer exclusive rate, which is, let's bring this down, provide some information. It's a bar rate. It has a 10% discount that allows them $50 daily to the beach bar. So this has a lot of encompassing items within it. So it's built off of, it's derived from the bar rate with a 10% discount and also allowing them to go to the beach bar. And if I click on my allowances, you can see that this is posted every day based on their posting rhythm. This allowance of the $50 to the beach bar. It's actually only costing the hotel $35, so you'll see that price here. And then as they add items from those consumable charge codes, they'll post in here, and then anything over that $50 will then get posted to the guest's folio. And you can see here, they posted, they spent $55 in plus tax, and that was all posted onto the guest folio, that difference. That's just one way. We also have, you know, again, depending on how you want these allowances to be built, you can have them consumed next day. So if it was like a breakfast package, they would check in, and it's not going to actually post this allowance until the following day after night roll, because obviously a guest isn't going to check in and then go get breakfast typically. And they can be built as add-ons that you can just incorporate to any rate if needed, or they can be built into a package rate like you see here. Just depending on, again, how you build them. They can be included in the price or excluded in the price. There's a lot of different ways to utilize our allowance functionality. To touch on a couple items within our PMS, and we'll not go into depth, but I mentioned our room diary. This is going to be similar to a tape chart. It gives you a lot of great detail in here. It's going to be a tool that your front desk team will really live in. It provides you all your arriving reservations throughout the week, your departures, your stayovers in blue, allows me to extend reservations, move reservations, I can assign rooms in here. I can assign them one by one, or I can assign them in bulk. If maybe, I don't necessarily care where specific guests get blocked to, then it has a tool that really cuts down in time by our auto assign. If I click on auto assign, those 3 rooms here on the right, they're not blocked into any room type. I could go ahead and block them all, or just block based on a specific room type. I could block into a specific floor as well. So again, it's a really helpful tool task. I can also book reservations in here. That really allows me to book directly into a room and a room number, which will really help you manage inventory on your really busy days or weeks, where it's allowing you to maximize what you have and where you can place guests that maybe walk in. From our group aspect, again, being able to manage your group blocks, being able to set up billing options, billing into a group. From a rooming list perspective, I mentioned you can import a rooming list via CSV, which will really cut down on entering in data, and it can capture obviously all the reservation information like arrival, departure date, room type, the guest name, but it also can capture from the import tool an email address and a mobile phone number, or any phone number for a guest as well. So if that's something that the group client provides to you, it's something that you can capture. From our revenue management tool, Rate Manager, I highlighted this earlier. This is a great tool to update pricing, restrictions on rates. You have different ways to do it. I won't be able to highlight everything in our time, but you have also different levels of restrictions, like your house level, so affecting every day, every rate that day, or room type level. So maybe you set specific restrictions on just specific room types, where here we have just our suites have a 2-night minimum on Sundays. We also have the rate level, so you can build a rate that has restrictions, or you can also set restrictions on the fly as you need. From here, we have our 2-night minimum length of stay just on a specific rate for a specific day. You can also set them to be reoccurring, maybe based on a day of week or based on a date range. And then that's very similar to our pricing. If I click on this Amazon rate again, you can see we actually changed pricing on Wednesday. That's why it's highlighted orange, where I can change pricing on a specific day for all room types, or maybe a specific room type, by increasing or decreasing by a dollar amount or percentage, and also choosing, again, a pattern, a day of week, one specific day, or a date frame. And then lastly, I'll just jump into our reporting really quickly, and then we'll talk about Stayntouch 2.0. Our new reports will be where you'll pull any report on demand that you're looking for. There are quite a bit of reports to go through here. And obviously, if you don't feel like scrolling, you can always use our handy search bar. But as you pull reports, you'll see them in our report inbox. You can also go back to any report you pulled within the last 3 days. So from yesterday's reports, I can see that as well. And then we have our scheduled reporting, scheduled exports, that allows you to determine when you want specific reports to run, how you want them to be delivered to you. These can also be part of our automated night audit, where you would schedule all your reports through that as well. And then our custom exports, where you have the ability to pull apart these different groups of data, filter them, determine when you want that, how frequently you want that report, etc. So we'll jump now over to Stayntouch 2.0.
Just give me 1 minute.
Thank you.
There you are.
Great, thank you. So you saw a high-level aspect of our core functionality, and then recently, last year, we really launched our Stayntouch 2.0 that has an additional suite of technology that you can add on, you know, as a bundle or individually a la carte, such as our Stayntouch Pay. That includes a full end-to-end process that we'll kind of dig in a little bit more to. We have our booking engine that will really help drive direct bookings. This is also going to be pulling direct inventory real time from the PMS, as well as additional information. Then we have our kiosk, which I've touched on, and then our channel manager, which really gives access and connects the PMS to a plethora of channels that you have available. If we'll go to the next slide. We'll touch on our Stayntouch Pay. So this is, again, a complete end-to-end solution from a payment aspect. It's going to be an onboarding experience similar to what you would have with the PMS if you're doing it, you know, as a current customer and then going into Stayntouch Pay. You would have again a similar onboarding. If you're doing it all at once, it'll be a whole singular seamless onboarding experience. So you'll really be working with us. It's removing that middleman. You're dealing with the PMS support. You'll also have our support to deal with for Stayntouch Pay. It provides you this very nice portal, very similar in ease of functionality to the PMS, where you have a ton of information at your fingertips, and also allows you to support many different types of payments, like a pay by link, which we'll touch on, that can be sent to guests to pay directly from their account, like an advance deposit, versus them typing in a card in their booking process. Allowing utilization of PayPal, Alipay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, etc. So we'll go to the next slide. From a reporting aspect, when you're in your portal, which these are all screenshots of the portal, you have a lot of different reporting that you can pull from a payment aspect from your transactions, and not just even static reporting, but these are dynamic, and they're also giving you graphical views of them, such as those transactions and gross sales, where you have different parameters that you can compare against each other. A list of your payments. You can also see kind of that status of that payment, whether it's pending, whether it's declined, or whether it's, you know, gone through, etc. And we'll go to the next screen. Talk a little bit more about the portal, where you have the ability to refund a payment. And typically, you know, maybe that's mostly done within the PMS, but if you ever needed to do it within a portal, you know, maybe from a POS standpoint, you do have that aspect in the portal. Additionally, getting out more information from your financials, and again, more graphical views, really giving you data in an easy to read format, allowing you to handle your disputes, allowing you to manage that process, and easily seeing the dispute status as well. So knowing after you've submitted maybe some follow-up or some screenshots on specific disputes, you can see kind of where that is in the process of either being approved, etc. And we'll go to the next slide. And lastly, in terms of your portal, you have access to all of your statements, and then you have them in different formats. So you have a PDF view, which is kind of some screenshots you see here, but then you also have it from a CSV view as well if you need to download that information and export it to another system, perhaps. But you have different ways of looking at it. But the biggest thing I would say that I think sets us apart, and really going through this process, I can attest to that, is clean, easy to read, easy to understand aspects of what you're being charged for, you know, what you're paying for. invoices can look very messy and very unclear what the different transactions are or charges. We make it very clear for you and easy to understand. Next slide. Additionally, with Stayntouch Pay, we have a couple different devices that have different options, depending on your needs and your operation, where we have a device such as the middle device that has a printer built into it. We have the one on the left, the P400 Plus. This is your standard countertop device, but it's sleek. It is customizable images within it that allows you. All of them have swiping, tapping, or chip technology, as well as the one all the way on the right-hand side that's actually fully wireless, fully no cables. It's actually going to be similar to like a Samsung device where you'd be able to maybe walk around with it or have it with you if you're going to be going through a full check-in on an iPad, because you do have that capability with our system. So you could be completely deskless. And so again, even with that device, allows you to tap, allows you to insert, and allows you to swipe. And next slide. Lastly, we have our pay by link, and I touched on this a little bit earlier. It's a dynamic link that you can add into a confirmation, you can add into a group confirmation, and this will allow the guest to actually go in and add in card details in a secure manner in a way that helps mitigate fraud and capture that deposit information that you might be requiring based on how you build your deposit rules. So it's a really great option that you have incorporated in our Stayntouch Pay. And next slide. So moving away from Stayntouch Pay, but just talking briefly on our booking engine and kind of the differences that you may see from our booking engine to maybe having a CRS. And from our standpoint, you're going from the PMS to the booking engine. We are connecting you onto your hotel's website. So there's no middleman. It's just an embedded link on your website that would then bring the guest into booking directly into the PMS. In a customizable fashion, with your details that you have from the PMS. So it's really just pulling that real-time information. From a CRS standpoint, you have that connection from PMS to CRS and then to these other areas where you have a booking engine from the CRS. You'll have your different OTAs, wholesalers, maybe a GDS. So that's what's going to really provide that difference from what our booking engine is to what you might have from a CRS standpoint. However, if you choose our booking engine, you could also do our channel manager as well, which we'll touch on next. So some of the features that you have within our booking engine give you a calendar view, provide rate information, could provide restriction information here if there's like maybe a minimum or a stay through. You also have the option as the guest to update their profile details. So they could go in there, update their email, update their address. They could even modify reservations, cancel reservations. They can book into a group block or use a promo code to book with if that's maybe something that's been pushed out through marketing. We saw some of those add-ons in the mobile check-in that you can also sell additional non-room items like an add-on like chocolate dip strawberries through this process as well. We'll go to the next slide. So if you were interested in our booking engine, perhaps you'd also be interested in our channel manager. They don't need to be bundled together, but often if you want to be connected to channels and you're utilizing our IBE, it's a great option to utilize Stayntouch Channel Manager. And the biggest difference from us to, again, that CRS is that we'd be able to utilize our our channel manager to connect you to those other OTAs. And there's a long list of different channels that different vendors that we can get you connected with. As an example, Booking.com, Expedia, Hotel Tonight, Airbnb. And those are just to name a few. There are many, many different channels that we can get you connected with. So if maybe a GDS isn't something that you need specifically, then I think our IB and our channel manager would be great options and opportunities. And I believe that wraps up the demo.
Thank you very much, Emily, for that insightful presentation. I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like to open the floor to questions from the audience. Remember that you can ask a question by going to the questions drop-down menu in the middle of your control panel. So I'm not seeing any questions in the queue at the moment. I was thinking, Emily, we went through a lot of the functionality of the chain management module and then how easy it is to switch between sort of an entire chain view, group views, and then individual hotels. I was wondering if you could riff a bit more on the impact that this could have to the guests, both in terms of individual guests, groups, maybe prospective guests, and that sort of thing, just while people sort of collect their thoughts for questions.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to be hugely impactful because, you know, think about when you're going to one hotel in a group of hotels or in a hotel company, and they have data on you as the guest, right? You put in information from your reservation, then you go to another one of their hotels and they know absolutely nothing about you from your past visit. It's very helpful to have that that collaboration between profiles. Same with that from a contracted perspective of rates. If you have a global company contract, and sharing that amongst your different hotels as well is very helpful. But I think if you do have, again, I keep coming back to this standpoint of like a sister property, knowing kind of where they're at, being able to help each hotel manage inventory together. If one sold out, maybe helping provide guests to the other property. It just gives you a better overall understanding of everything going on, you know, with correct permissions.
Excellent. So we do have one question. Shirley asks, we are planning to use Stayntouch in our hotel, but along with that, we also want to get a plugin developed. What is the process of uploading the plugin to your integration hub?
Yeah, so we have our integrations team, integrations at stayntouch.com, that can help with that. So we have open APIs and a lot of webhooks. They have a couple pieces of information that you can gather from them. What are those APIs? We can also provide access to like a sandbox API with, you know, specific things being signed and confirmed beforehand, but they can help with that. And we have plenty of systems that do write to us that will help really customize your tech stack.
Excellent. So I am not seeing any additional questions in the queue. I'll just give everyone one more moment in case they're finishing typing a question. Well, since there are no more questions, I would like to conclude our presentation. Emily, thank you once again for your very insightful presentation. Of course, thank you to the audience for attending. If you have any additional questions that you think up, you know, after the presentation, feel free to email me. My email address is justin.derise@stayntouch.com, and I will certainly forward it to the appropriate party. Thank you very much.
Thank you.